Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing YouTube channel. And if you've spent a second here, you will know that I am on a mission to give you everything you could possibly need to be more successful in your business. Now, as far as I'm aware, the only way for you to be more successful in your business is by being much better at sales and marketing. So on this channel, I'm giving you the marketing news, everything that's going on in terms of marketing. I'm giving you everything I know about marketing, and I'm extracting everything from anyone I can find who will also talk to me about sales and marketing. So today's guest has sales and marketing experience going all the way back to 2012. He is the host of the Atomic Impact podcast. He has been running his business Impact for Leads for the last 3.5 years. And interestingly, he is also a plane crash survivor. Today's guest is Jason Osborn. Good afternoon, Jason. How are you?
I'm good, Martin. Thanks so much for having me on your show, man. Looking forward to giving as much value as I can on your show here, man.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much. So the first thing we need to get out of the way is this plane crash survivor business.
Yeah.
Because that's quite unique, isn't it? Surviving a plane crash.
It is. Yeah, it's very unique. I don't know too many other people that have gone through that, that have survived. So yeah, it was about 20 years ago. So I'm from Texas. My accent's very strange. I'm from Texas, moved to the Republic of Ireland about 16 years ago, and now live in the UK. Moved here about 10 years ago. But yeah, back when I was in my early 20s, around 20 years ago, we were in a small little private plane, little Cessna twin engine prop plane, and we ended up crashing into a house. And there was 5 of us on board. Me and one of my friends survived, and my other 3 friends that were on the plane ended up passing away that day as well. So a bit of a tragic event, but definitely something that changed my life in many ways. And I use that, my whole life, I've always wanted to help people, give impact. And so that's probably one of the most impactful events that have happened in my life. So I use that as a way to shock people out of our normal kind of scrolling patterns we have on social media to help capture people. Because if it's impacted my life, I want to use that to help impact other people as well. So
yeah, well, it's hard to. So I'm seeing where this impact theme is coming from now. It's hard to imagine a more impactful experience.
it's a big one. Yeah, I think I've come across many people that I think have had more impactful experiences. But what I always tell people is we all have massive impactful moments in our life, and you don't have to go through a plane crash or be a terrorist survivor as an example. Like, you don't have to be anything quite that dramatic around stuff. We all go through stuff, right? We all have issues and things that we go through, but it's what we do with those things, and that really define us. And if we choose to be victims in those, then we're victims. If we choose to take the positives out of that, and I don't mean some hairy fairy, let's just be positive stuff, but there's always benefits that we can learn from things and experiences we've had in our life. And if we can do that, it actually can catapult us and propel us forward. And so, yeah, I try to use that in any way I can to, as I said, impact people in any way that I can.
Cool, brilliant, amazing. And I think there's also, it occurred to me because I thought I wanted to be a public speaker at one point in my life. And it occurred to me that if nothing amazing or astounding has happened to you, it's so much harder to stand up and just be like the ordinary guy that now has something to say. So it's almost like if you have sailed the oceans single-handedly, or you've scaled Everest, or you've survived a plane crash, then there's maybe a head start at least. It gets people's attention at least. I don't know, but that just occurred to me. I'm too ordinary to be a public speaker, maybe.
I'm very ordinary as well, and I think we all go through stuff that we could pull out about events that have happened in our life that people can connect with. And sometimes I think there's a bit of a, particularly if we're seeing public speakers talk around things and they say, oh, the rags to riches story and all that kind of stuff. I think sometimes people can almost feel like they're just normal. So how can they relate to that? So, having those someone that can get up and just say, look, I'm just a normal person. I don't think I've had any massive things in my life. I think a lot of people can also relate with that as well. So I think it really comes down to how you connect with people and do they feel the authenticity around that? Because I've heard other people get up and talk about big, massive moments in their life, but it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like a gimmick, even though it may be true in their life. And so I don't think it really matters how, if you've had something so unique that differentiates yourself from everyone else, it's more the authenticity and can you actually help people get to where they want to be, and that's what people connect with. That's what I believe anyway.
Okay, cool. I think there's an issue with connection in
Hmm.
2022. Maybe because we've had such a disconnecting couple of years, and I think technology has gone a long way to disconnect people. So I think that's cool. If you're bringing connection to the world, all power to you,
Yeah.
man. But we're not here
Yeah.
to talk about that today. We're here to, well, we are kind of. Um, my mission is I want people to be more successful. And this was really stressful for me when I was running my business because I wanted to help everyone, and not everyone was ready to be helped. And certainly not everyone was ready to put their hand in their pocket and pay me to help them. But I still want to help those people. So this is really about making the good stuff available for people. So when the penny drops and they realize that being in business is about having customers profitably, then they'll find us and they will be liberated, and maybe we can connect them to that success is kind of the idea. So the format is really simple. As you know, there's only 5 questions. Your specialist subject is LinkedIn marketing, which I'm really interested in. So the 5 questions are: firstly, how are you qualified to talk to us about LinkedIn marketing? Who are your clients? How do you add value in their lives? What is your recommendation for people who want to be doing better with their LinkedIn marketing? The 4th question is, what should people read? And the 5th question is, who can you throw under the bus who might enjoy or at least endure to have a conversation like this with me? So the first question: how are you qualified to talk to us about LinkedIn marketing? Is that how you frame yourself, as LinkedIn marketing? Because
I do. Yeah. So I frame myself as a LinkedIn marketing expert, just because that's what, captures people's attention with stuff. But it goes back further than that. So, as I said earlier, I'm from Texas. When I owned my first business when I was 20. So I've owned businesses kind of off and on for most of my kind of working life. And when I moved to Ireland, obviously it was a completely new country. So I just got a job there. But straight away, I was looking for something to do business wise. And 16 years ago, the whole online business world was really, really new. I mean, as an industry, it's still new, but particularly then, like it was in infancy stage. It was kind of the wild, wild west days. And I was really intrigued on starting up an online business. And as I said, I've always been really big on impact. So I thought, well, how can I combine those two things? So I said, well, let me train up as a life coach, which I did that as well. And so I started marketing myself online as a life coach. I didn't have a clue what I was doing online marketing. It was just like, how do I connect people? How do I get people to join my list? How do I do anything, right? And again, back then it was very different than it is now. But within 18 months, I built up an email list of 9,000 people. I was coaching people in 13 countries. And a lot of people were starting to ask me, like, well, how are you doing this? How are you actually, building your business online? And my mentor at the time suggested that I transition my business into start coaching and mentoring people with their online marketing. Of course, I didn't. I remember saying to him, I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. And he's like, yes, you do. You know way more than you do. So as a good kind of mentoree, I said, all right, I'll trust you on that. And I transitioned my business into that. And so in terms of like online marketing, I've been doing this for around 16 years. About 4 years ago, I started hearing a lot of things around just chatter in different places around how LinkedIn was really good to generate leads, and people talking about, oh yeah, it's a great way to generate leads. And I was like most of everyone else, even though I've been in, helping people with online marketing for a long time, I wasn't using LinkedIn as a platform, and I just thought LinkedIn was just a CV or resume website like most people think it is, which if you're looking for a job, it is good for that, right? And I was like, really? LinkedIn? How? Oh, gosh, okay, well, let me start looking into this. And I started on LinkedIn, and I struggled with it. Like I didn't get it, couldn't figure it out. Um, and I realized that what I was doing is what a lot of people struggle with when they start using LinkedIn to try to generate leads. And I actually gave up after about 2 months. I was like, man, this is, I can't figure this thing out. And I just stopped. But I kept hearing people that I'm generating leads on LinkedIn. So it became kind of personal to me, Martin. I was like, okay, I've been in this for a while now. Like, I'm not a novice. I can figure out this LinkedIn stuff. So I'm going to do this. So I relooked at the way all this, how LinkedIn has set up their platform, how they work, the way they want you to work. And what I realized is this: LinkedIn, you cannot use it like you do Facebook and Instagram. And this is probably the number one challenge that people have. Because we're so used to Facebook and Instagram, we think, okay, we're going to do the same on LinkedIn. And it just does not work that way. What I also realized is LinkedIn wants you to generate leads. They've actually built the platform for you to generate leads. It's just most people don't know how to do it because, again, they're trying to do it as a social network, like on Facebook or Instagram, when LinkedIn is a professional network. And the way that you communicate, the way you reach out, the way you network, everything you do on that is different than a lot of the ways you do. Although, to be honest, if you do it, what I teach on LinkedIn, it actually works better on other platforms as well because you're not spamming people, right? There's a personal touch to it. So that's kind of what qualifies me from that. Over the last 3.5 years, that's what I've been focusing on. I teach and mentor and coach clients all over the world and have had hundreds, probably thousands of clients now. So yeah, that's what qualifies me.
Okay, cool. So the reason we are speaking is because of Tony. And I think the reason Tony threw you under the bus, I don't know if you feel like you've been thrown under the bus, but is because I've also run a LinkedIn course. And I started running that LinkedIn course probably somewhere around 2010 until I stopped running the Effective Marketing Company properly around 2014. And then I recorded a course and it's available online, but it hasn't been marketed. So I don't think we're in competition at this stage, is the good news for you. Tony recommended that I speak to you because I think his profile might be the best LinkedIn profile I've ever seen. It's the first time, because obviously I've built your introduction basically from your LinkedIn profile, and I built his from his. So I'm spending time. It's the first time I was actually impressed. I don't want to say excited to speak to people because I'm excited to speak to people all the time. I think it's the first time I've been impressed and excited to speak to somebody who I haven't known already, who's authored a number of books. Do you know what I mean? It's like, sure. This is a really, really impressive presentation of this guy. And actually what I was feeling is this is a very impressive guy, is what I was feeling. Now, I don't know how much, because actually the way he conducts himself is pretty impressive. So there's a combination of your genius in being able to present him that way, his genius in terms of him carrying on in that way. I still think that's the best LinkedIn profile I've seen. So tell us about that. Is Tony just the standout? So it's because he does quite incredible things, like cold calling from the stage, for example. Insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is Tony just a standout customer, or are you achieving this more broadly?
I'm achieving it more broadly. I do agree. I mean, Tony is a fantastic guy. I love what he teaches. And we've been able to do some work together and stuff. So he's a great guy. So I agree with you on that, but you don't have to have maybe certain, oftentimes what we do is we put ourselves down and thinking that we're not an expert or we're not overly knowledgeable in an area. And we look at other people, maybe like Tony or other people, and go, oh, I have to be out to that level. You don't, right? The thing about it is this. Here's the honest truth, in my opinion, on LinkedIn. You don't actually have to have your LinkedIn profile that much different for it to stand out, because everyone else's is so bad, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So most people on LinkedIn have a CV profile. That's
Yeah.
it. Like, it's very boring. They think it's because people still think LinkedIn is the only thing you do on there is if you are looking for a job or wanting to um, position yourself in a way to look good for headhunters if they want to, like, headhunt you into another company or something.
Yeah.
And so everything about it is boring. It's all about you, how long you've been in the industry, how long you've done this, and blah blah. And it's boring. It's just so it's cookie cutter. And so when it comes down to generating leads on LinkedIn, obviously your profile is just the first step to that, but you want your profile to position yourself from a place of authority and credibility, but you also want it to be very client focused, right? Not you focused. It's not about you when you're using the platform to generate leads. Because the reality is this, people don't really care about me, right? They don't care about Tony. They don't care about you. What they care about is how can you help them achieve an outcome. So if I'm just talking about how long I've been in the business and my background and all this kind of stuff, they'll be like, pat me on the back, good for you, next. But if they can come onto the profile and feel like I actually understand the challenges they're going through, if I can connect with them that way and make it feel like when they read my profile, I'm speaking directly to them, then that's when your profile's done a good job towards your avatar, where they go, God, this person, yeah, they know exactly what I'm going through. I want that same help for me. So there's a shift when it comes to LinkedIn profiles. And so if you look at LinkedIn, if you look at Tony's or my profile or any of my other clients' profiles, it's very much focused in on the prospect and also positioning yourself as a credible authority, but not in a I am this and I've done this. It's a positioning, but subtle, based and focused on your prospects. So that's kind of a longer answer to that question. If anyone can just do it, which I'd say yes.
Yes. Um, so this is interesting to me because what I spend a lot of time doing is getting people to change their thinking about things. So people don't want to do marketing, they don't want to do sales. They think that LinkedIn is a recruitment platform. Like these are the things, and it seems to me that almost exactly the opposite of what people think is the actual truth. Like marketing is a lot of fun and it's the only way you're going to get to be successful. LinkedIn clearly has its foundations or its intention as a recruitment platform. But what I tell people is that LinkedIn is the largest, most dynamic, most up to date, most accessible database of business to business decision makers that has ever existed. And you
Absolutely.
might spend 5%, 10% of your career, if you're unlucky, looking for a new job, but you would spend the other 90% actually trying to be successful in your current role. This is
Yeah.
so 100% you have to get people thinking about it the right way. So that's the one inversion. The second inversion is, like you say, is that people think more broadly in their marketing that it's about them. They have this weird idea that they are free in their marketing to do what they want. The converse is true, where actually your marketing has to be all about your market and your targets and their challenges and what you can do to help them overcome those challenges. So I'm there 100% on both of those little inversions. The other thing I say to people, while we just get what I say to people out of the way, is there's two people who are interested in your job title, maybe three. So you might be interested, your mum might be interested, and recruiters are interested. So, like, if your professional headline says senior manager, senior accounts manager, or whatever it is, or senior customer service manager, that's not going to work other than for you, your mum, and a recruiter. So okay,
Yeah.
good. Those are the
And
things
and and,
that
I,
I say.
and I'm quite more blunt with that. I just say, who cares? You know,
Yeah,
like that's what I always tell my clients. Who cares if you're a senior project manager? Like, so is a million other people. It doesn't make you different from anyone else. So your headline again needs to be focused on your prospect, calling out who your avatar is, what's the main benefit you can help them achieve, or the problem you're helping them to solve. Getting clear on that. No one cares if you're a CEO. No one cares if you're an accountant. No one cares if you're a financial advisor. Like there's thousands and millions of them. Who specifically do you help and what's the outcome you help them achieve? You get clear on that. You move out of what I call a commodity based market where you're just competing on price because you position yourself that you do the same thing a million other people do. But as soon as you position yourself in a different way, that's where you stand out from everyone else. And this is the key thing. Like if you look at Tony, Tony could say, I'm a sales trainer, which is true.
yes,
But as soon as he does that, he just looks like everybody else,
yeah.
right? It's all about the positioning and how you're framing yourself. When you do that, that's where all the difference comes in.
Okay, so Tony isn't saying he's a sales trainer. He says,
No.
I help sales teams triple their conversions within 12 weeks by executing the Ask philosophy, principles, author of 5 books, sales conversion strategist. That is that his. So we can talk about this as well. His profile is much better than yours, man. And I've got a theory as to why that might be. But his profile rocks. So I mean, he rocks. I've done that also where I've made cold calls in front of people before. I've not done it on stage, you know. So the copy here, I think, on Tony's is astounding. My sales superpower is I conduct live sales calls on stage. Confession, I have interviewed the top 100 sales performers from around the world. This is like, this is astounding copy, like really, really good copy. You can respond to that if you like.
Okay, I was sure if you're asking a question. So
No,
yeah,
sometimes sometimes I don't get to the question. I don't really know what the question is. Like,
yeah, no
yeah,
worries, no worries, just chatting.
yeah,
Yeah, so the thing around, and it comes down to that, right? He's very clear on who he works with, sales teams. He's very clear on the outcome he helps them deliver,
yeah,
right? And then he's got the credibility, all the credibility standpoints on there as well. But then the whole thing through that is still focused in on his avatar, on his prospect.
yes,
So so yeah, I mean his is very good. Mine, what I've found on LinkedIn is most people spam. So I come from at it from a completely different angle because there's a lot of people out there that don't actually know what they're doing on LinkedIn, but call themselves LinkedIn experts, and all they actually do is set people up on automation tools. And so I was finding a lot of people going, "Oh, you just know the LinkedIn person." So I come at it from a very different perspective on the way that I communicate with people, and it works very, very, very well for me. So there is a bit of testing and validation you have to do through those things, but it still comes down to making sure you're very clear on speaking out to your main prospects and the outcomes. So yeah, I mean Tony, and I see this all the time. Tony could just say, I'm a sales trainer,
yeah,
but that doesn't make him any, like he's just great. So I know a million of those.
yeah,
So so people might go, well, okay, well I haven't interviewed the top 100 people, right? They may compare themselves to them and go, well, I haven't do that. I can't say that. I'm just an accountant. Okay, cool. Who's your ideal target market? And everybody's not the answer, right? It's
never.
what specific type of businesses are you wanting to work with, and how specifically can you help them? You know, start thinking outside of the box on this. As soon as you can do this, it changes. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients is a financial advisor here in the UK, and it's smart. There's I mean, gosh, how many financial advisors are there in the UK?
Too
There's
many.
there's countless, right? they're nothing different. Nothing makes one different from the other. They all say, I can help you with your finances, or I can help you manage your money. Like there's no, I've hardly ever see any financial advisors position themselves different than everyone else. So that's what he had on his profile. So I started asking him this, and this is a question. I'm sure you probably have your own questions you ask clients as well, but this is what I asked him. I said, let's imagine a scenario. So you have prospect A sit down in front of you, and they say, hey, I want you to help me with blank, okay, whatever it is. And on the outside, you're professional, so you're smiling, you're going, yeah, I can help you with that. But on the inside, you're going, oh my God, I hate doing this work. Like this is, God, I hate doing this, right? And this is what oftentimes what happens is we take on all sorts of work just because we haven't really honed in on who we want to work with. So we end up attracting everyone and doing a lot of work that drains us and may not even be very profitable. So I said, okay, well, now what I want you to do is imagine prospect B comes and sits down and says, hey, I want you to help me with blank. Now on the outside, not only are you smiling, but on the inside, you're smiling because you think, oh my God, if every client could be like this, I would love running my business. What is that for you? And without hesitation, he said, pensions, right? Which I don't think pensions are overly exciting. So I was like, really? Pensions? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, why? He goes, man, and you could tell, like he lit up, right? He goes, I love working with high net individuals because I can help them retire up to 10 years early by restructuring their pensions. I was like, dude, that's nowhere on your profile, And he was like, well, yeah, because it's just one of the things to do. I was like, no, that needs to be the focus. So that's what he did. He changed his profile to pretty much to say exactly that. I help high net individuals to retire up to 10 years early by restructuring their pensions. He made an additional 35,000 pounds in commissions in 8 weeks just because of the way he was positioning, who he was targeting, and who he was attracting through his LinkedIn outreach. So that just shows, like, and no offense to financial advisors, right? But they're financial advisor, it's just kind of, I help you manage your money. It's boring. So how can you position yourself in a way where it attracts your ideal client and highlights the main benefit you can help them achieve? When you do that, all of your marketing message, your marketing language, the challenge and pain points and frustrations that you're communicating, all geared towards that one avatar, and it changes your business. So even if you think, well, gosh, I'm not like Tony and I haven't interviewed 100 of the top known experts around the world and all kinds of, you don't have to. It's about how you frame and position what you do to your ideal target market that makes you stand out. And then that's how people look at you as a rock star in your field, is because of how you position yourself. So hopefully that makes sense.
That makes absolute sense. And this is something, I mean, there's two really big things in that for me. Like the reason we do sales and marketing, or the reason we should do sales and marketing, is to have the opportunity to sell to as many people as possible, so we can be selective about the ones that we do actually sell to, so that we can be doing the things that we want to be doing, because then, and so many people aren't. But then when you're doing what you want to do, I don't know if it was Confucius or Richard Branson who actually said it. Somebody said it. Do what you love, and you'll never work another day in your life. I don't really believe Confucius was working in the way we understand work, and I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but that's the first thing. Like, do sales and marketing. Have the opportunity to sell to lots and lots of people, and then start being really selective about who you actually end up selling to, because that way you're driving the bus of your business and you're doing the things that you love, rather than taking a half-assed approach to your marketing, not having anything like enough opportunity coming in, and having to work with everyone who offers you anything because you have to pay the bills. That's a sorry state to be in. The other thing, because I challenged Tony on this, in his profile, it says, I have helped develop over 36,000 sales professionals across 62 industries to perform at the top of their game. So what I knew already, but I challenged him anyway and got the answer, was that he has essentially presented to 36,000 salespeople. But there is a difference. Like, so I might have said I have presented to 36,000 salespeople and worked with whatever percentage of that, 1,000. What you've done is you've made it. Now, I don't know if he had the attitude that he developed these people already, or you said, no, you developed these people. Here's my theory. It's because you're from Texas, because I'm from England and I am very polite and proper, I am always ultra concerned about over-egging anything. And so, because I don't want to be challenged on it necessarily, I don't know why, but I don't. But it seems to us from in the UK that Americans are very happy to start shouting about how great they are. We're not like that. We're a little bit more reserved, polite, cautious, whatever that is. So is that because you're from Texas, or is it something else?
Okay, so that's his language, not mine.
Okay.
Okay. It's an interesting topic around this. So yes, I am from America. I am actually, you'll get this, Martin. Okay. I'm less American than most Americans. Okay.
Okay.
In terms of like that sort of stuff. And I don't like the whole shouty, I've done this and I've done this. I don't like it at all. I just don't like it. I think framing what you do in a positive light is good. And I think oftentimes we do, we kind of have like a false humility sometimes, and we don't. It's good to say what we've done, but not in a really shouty way. For if I were saying that personally, I would say I have spoken to X amount of people, because that's true.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. I mean, I've probably spoken to tens of thousands of people, but I wouldn't have say I've helped 10,000 individuals generate leads through LinkedIn, because that's not necessarily true, right? I've spoken to them. So, but the thing is, like, if that's what resonates with Tony wants to put on there, that's fine. I mean, I'm not there to say no, you can't use this word, you can't use that word. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. I'm a little bit more reserved in the way that I shout about things than the typical American. But I do agree with you. And no offense to my fellow Americans, Americans generally are very shouty about that stuff, and a lot of it's because I live here in the UK. So I've had to, and I lived in Ireland before. I'm very big on making sure you adapt to the culture in which you live in.
Yes.
And you can't really be. If I was American here in the UK, it would clash in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And I think you know that. Anyone else that doesn't really get what we're talking about, don't worry about it. But okay. I'm a little bit more soft in my approach around that, if that makes sense.
Okay, good. And the thing is, there are angles to this approach, because I think the way we see it from the UK is that there's so little what's the word, finesse. So like, as the worst characterization of an American, I don't necessarily believe this, but the worst characterization might be, it doesn't matter how shitty your business is, you will still be jumping up and down demanding that you're the best and that people should buy from you, is kind of the sense I kind of get about it. So your approach is already very different, because you're already thinking from the customer's perspective and interested to understand what their challenges might be. But I think this is why Tony's, I haven't seen the thousands of profiles that you've written. This is why we're focused on Tony. But I think this is why Tony's profile is better than mine and better than yours, is because I think you need somebody else to do it. You can't do it for yourself. And I think this is almost the same for the whole of marketing. Like, people seem to be almost willfully divorced from the reality of the value that they add in their customers' lives. and they won't go and speak to their customers about it, which is why they're willfully divorced. So I think you almost need a third party to come in and do that work to understand what that value is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think any business owner, and I think any individual, that is truthful with themselves will say what you've just said there as well. Yeah, I know for
Oh,
myself,
they're never
and that's
truthful
why.
with themselves, Jason. Never truthful with themselves.
Well, but no, not oftentimes. But the thing is, like, I agree. You know, that's why I have mentors, I have peers. I was just I was in Manchester on Saturday hanging out with a mate of mine, and as a matter of fact, he's the one I'm going to throw under the bus at the end of this the session today. Um, and we were just talking business, right? And it's one of those things because I can be talking through stuff, and he'll be like, "Why are you doing it that way?" I'm like, God, yeah, why am I doing it that way? And then he'd be talking about stuff and he'd be like, oh yeah, what? And we need that. And so when you're doing things around your business, you need someone like if we're talking about LinkedIn, it's good to have someone to come in there. And I do this with all my clients. They draft up their profile and then they send it to me. They draft it up based on a framework and a structure I have and all that because I want to make sure that their language is in their language and they're shining through in what's being communicated. But then I'll review that and I'll be like, well, you know, I wouldn't say it this way, maybe do it this way, or actually you're underplaying what you do, or okay, actually if you state that, that seems because there's been other times where people have said stuff, and I can't think of something right off the top of my head, but it seems too good to be true. And sometimes not in Tony's perspective, because he has spoken to 10,000 or whatever, how many people it was. But if you say something about we can get you, one of my clients, they said that they can get results with people within 24 hours, right? And that's what they had on there. And I was like, it's it's unbelievable, right? Even though it may be true, sometimes you have to balance certain things out. So that's what I do with that is I help kind of help them with that in the wording, the language, and all that. But most of the time, it's people don't see what they actually have, and it's helping them frame that in a way. And I get clients going, "Oh gosh, I don't know." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, but own what you're good at."
Yes.
Like is it true? Yes. Well, why not say that then? As long as it's true, So that's kind of my take from it. But yeah, it's always good to have people come in and help you and see things about what you're doing in your business that maybe you can't see because we all have blind spots, and those that acknowledge that are usually the ones that can grow faster because we're open to growth and open to feedback and
Yeah.
criticism and all that sort of stuff. So
I think my experience is that it's kind of all blind spot when it comes to sales and marketing. Like I say, like almost exactly the opposite of what they think is true is the case. Like they think that marketing is a luxury, they don't understand the necessity of it. They think that sales, everyone hates anyone who sells. They think LinkedIn is a recruitment tool. They think, all of this stuff. So when it comes to sales and marketing, it feels to me like people are just looking in completely the wrong direction. And when they come to actually want to invest in it, like the majority of people I work with, this isn't exclusively the case, but they think this is their opportunity to do exactly what they want to do, and for it to be about them and the colors of their widgets and where the buttons are and all these feature type stuff. So they never even
yeah,
get to the benefits. So I think
yeah,
that's the case. I mean, there are sales and marketing kind of interested or people with a better aspect, but the majority just seem to be looking in the wrong direction, and they don't talk to their customers to understand that what the value is, and so they don't believe they're adding value to the world, so they've got nothing to say to the world. That's
yeah,
what I think. Are you ready
yeah.
for a challenging conversation? A challenging
Go
question?
for it.
It's not a
Yeah,
very
go for
challenging
it.
question, I don't think. The issue with LinkedIn is that the world believes it's a recruitment tool. So people aren't on LinkedIn looking for solutions to their problems. I mean, arguably, they're not on LinkedIn at all. I don't know what the stat is now. I don't know how often people check in. But then, if they're on LinkedIn, it's because they're looking for a job rather than looking for someone to resolve the issues that they may be facing in their work or in their lives. So you've always got in your marketing effort on LinkedIn to bridge that gap. How do you bridge that gap between they are there, most likely, for something which is absolutely nothing to do with what you want to help them with?
Yeah, good question. So this kind of comes down to the difference between Facebook and Instagram, and then LinkedIn. So um, yes, a lot of people aren't coming onto LinkedIn to socialize. They're not there to scroll through LinkedIn's feed to see cat videos and what you ate last night, right? That's not what they're there for. If they do come on, and this is one of the things that I do like about it, if they do come on, when they do come on, they're there to do business, right? So they're more serious in nature when they're on the platform. They have their professional hat on, so to speak. So they're in a different mind frame, and this is a big thing that I like to pull out to people is the psychology, the mindset that people are in when they're on LinkedIn. Because when you're on Facebook, generally speaking, you don't go onto Facebook and Instagram from a professional, like work related aspect. You're there to just scroll, right? Scroll through and see what's on the feed and be nosy and all that sort of stuff, right? People don't do that on LinkedIn. When they come on, they're there in a professional manner. So a couple things around this. One, while people may not use it all the time to search, which the more and more people are doing that on LinkedIn, but this is one of the reasons why another reason why people fail with this is because they think just posting content all the time is what's going to bring leads in. And in my experience and countless people that I've spoken to, just posting content on LinkedIn is one of the most fruitless efforts they have. It's what I call hope marketing, right? Because there's a lot of hope involved with it. So you create a piece of content, you put it out, it doesn't hit LinkedIn's algorithm, so it doesn't get viewed very many times. You're hoping that it shows up on people's feed. If it does, you're hoping they stop. If they stop, you're hoping that they engage. And if they engage, you're hoping they reach out to you and say, hey, here's my money. There's a lot of passive hope in that. And I don't like that. I like a more proactive approach. So not spammy, not aggressive, big difference between these two things. But if you are more proactive on it, people do get notifications when you reach out to them, when there's certain activities that you do on their profile, things that you can do to create engagement around this so that when they do come onto the platform and they do see the way that you've reached out and communicated with them, it's so different than what everyone else is doing. You automatically create more engagement and them wanting to actually communicate with you if they're in the market for what you're providing, right? So there's differences between how you're doing this, and a lot of it's about how you stand out and be different from everybody else. But just posting content endlessly, wondering why people aren't reaching out to you, again, that's not why people are coming on to LinkedIn. They're not there just to scroll aimlessly through stuff.
Can we just
Completely different
say,
psychology.
can we just say, psychology or otherwise, whatever it might be, you have to be a special kind of bored if you are going to LinkedIn looking for content, because the standard of content on LinkedIn is an abhorrence. I don't know how to make it more clear how I feel about this. It feels like, I mean, it feels like it's less sensible even than Facebook. It feels like people are talking about irrelevant. It feels like the people who are posting on LinkedIn have nothing better to do with their time, because it feels like, I don't know if you were in the UK when Little Britain was on, but there was,
I've watched it, yeah.
you've watched it. There's one of those sketches where the guy comes in on the Monday morning and he brags about the charity work he did or the sponsored walk that he did or something. And this is what this guy does all the time. and maybe he's making stupid jokes. He's like the most annoying kind of colleague. All of the content, all is a strong word, I mean it, on LinkedIn is operating at that kind of level. Like, I don't really care, but I'm going to signal about this thing, or I achieved that thing, or that's what I feel. So, is there a content component to what you're doing with people, or
Yeah,
not?
yeah, there is, but so here's my take on this. I think what you've said is 100% true, and I think it's because people are confused. They're trying, again, that goes back. They're trying to use LinkedIn like they are Facebook and Instagram. And because they've been posting what they would post on Facebook and Instagram and it's not working, they're trying all sorts of stuff, which means it comes across as confusing. They don't really know what's going on. And they're posting about God knows what just because they're trying to find how to create the content that generates leads for them. So I think it's a very confusing, people are just confused. And so the content that comes out feels confusing. So con so I'm not saying don't create content. What I'm saying is use it as a supplemental element in what you're doing on LinkedIn to add value on what you're doing, right? Add value in that. And it doesn't mean, I mean, look, I test loads of stuff as well. And there's pieces of content that I've put out there that don't do very good, other pieces that do amazing. You have to test stuff. And it's okay to post about yourself sometimes on LinkedIn, because what you're doing is you're wanting that content to engage your connections you already have, to build up that relationship more and more, because not everyone that you connect with automatically is going to want to reach out to you or get on a phone call with you or do business with you. So you have to continue to build up that credibility, but there's got to be some sort of sense and connection with what you're doing. Just posting stuff. I mean, I've seen people. I'll just kind of make some time. No, maybe they're an accountant and they create a poll about what's your favorite movies. It's like, why are you doing that? You know, it has nothing to do. That doesn't add value at all. And just, and maybe it does go viral. Maybe there's 30,000 people that vote on that poll. No one's going to be reaching out to you for accountancy information after that, because they're just saying, oh, it's you want to add value around what you're doing. So what I train people on is content there is to supplement what you're doing through your more proactive lead gen activities, to continue to build that credibility and trust. And it's also good because it plays into LinkedIn's overall algorithm and their SSI score and all that kind of stuff. So you want to do that, but you have to be on purpose with what you're doing as well.
Yeah, so I think the majority of content, I mean, I might just have the wrong 10,000 connections. So it doesn't seem likely. I've actually done quite a lot of proactive stuff on my LinkedIn network. So they are typically the kind of people that I'd like to be doing business with. But it seems to me that the people who are posting the most content are, maybe people who aren't as busy in their business as they should be. Maybe lifestyle, one person bands. I don't even want to be too critical of that. But I think there's a big issue behind this, which is people don't actually know what to say in their marketing. And because, do they even think, if they're commenting like that on or posting like that on LinkedIn, that they are marketing? I mean, I don't know. So they might just be stupidly bored. They might be thinking that this is good for their business. Somebody told me once that occasionally, it's really good to put out an engagement post. And an engagement post is talking about his daughter's achievements at school or something like that. And that to me just seems inauthentic. Like, if you've said, okay, there is a style of post which is an engagement post, which is where I share something with people that that isn't necessarily appropriate, but might get me a lot of attention. That seems to me to be quite cynical and inappropriate, and that's what it seems to me.
Um, yeah, I know where you're coming from with this. What I normally tell people is this: if you're going to put some, I'll give you some examples of my own stuff here, but if you're going to put something up personal, uh, try to always tie that back into making sense around what you're doing, right? Because the personal side, the thing about it is this: people like the personal side because you become an actual person. If you're only posting like statistical information about this and it's all just blah blah blah, people almost think like they're a robot. Who is this person? Like, are they real? So you want to have a human side to you, but tie it back into value. So for instance, I made a post a while back. One of the things that this is a whole nother conversation, but one of the things I was doing is looking at creating kind of daily habits and stuff, and one of it was doing a minimum of 15-minute run. So I posted about that, but I tied it into how that affects our businesses as well, about the consistency, the mindset of doing consistent activity and the compound effect that it has in our business. And while this is something I'm focused in on my health, because I think it was like day 60 or something I posted on, what does that do in your business with consistency in your marketing, consistency in your outreach? When you can tie that in, there's an element of personal and an element of business, and I think people can really relate with that. And people do resonate with that personal side as well. So I think that combination side can work really well. But if you're just posting it for the sake of, okay, I'm going to talk about how my son won an award just because you want views on your profile, I don't know if I would do that. I guess if other people want to do it, if it works, I guess fine. But I think there's also a difference between. It's like what I said earlier. I mean, if you make a poll about what's your favorite movie, just because you've had 30,000 people view that, I mean, you could have 10 million people view that, but if it doesn't actually help you grow your business, why are you doing that? It's just because, in my perspective, just because you have people that have seen a post doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing for your business.
No.
So
And I think this is something that's going on in the world, which is, and it's not going on in the world, but going on in marketing, where people are attaching value to views and likes and those things that aren't actually going to have a great impact necessarily on the future of their business. Um, but if you think about it in terms of the customer journey, like phase one is awareness. So you could argue, I put that poll together, 5,000 people got involved, whatever, then that's an awareness job that's done. But I think people need to be, like, there's levels to that awareness. So people need to know that you exist. Then the next thing they should understand is the value that you add in the world. Then you should
yeah,
probably evidence that value so that they're getting a sense that this actually happens. And then maybe the fourth or fifth thing might be that you are also a a enjoyable human being, So yeah, so that's kind of the way that I see content. I mean, the argument is you don't have to be very good to look amazing now on LinkedIn, because the rest of it is so appalling.
it's drab. Yeah,
But it really is appalling. It really. I wonder how you
yeah.
would go about fixing that. Is there someone at LinkedIn that you could phone up and say, this
I
is.
don't know. It would be nice. Overall, I mean, that's why I love doing what I do, is because I do get to help clients with that sort of stuff and help them be a little bit, well, not a little bit, be a lot more on point and on purpose with what they're doing, and not just aimlessly putting out content. Because what I found, and you probably find this as well, Martin, people that are creating content like that, they're actually wanting to build business, but they're so desperate because they've tried everything. They're literally trying everything else, and it,
Yes.
it actually doesn't help them in their business. So when we can get on point with it, be on purpose with our content, our marketing, and how we've positioned ourselves and all that sort of stuff, and be much more focused, it allows us the whole level of our of our profile, and how we, not just our surface profile, but the background of what we do and the content and how we reach out and all that kind of stuff. It raises the level of how we're being kind of shown on LinkedIn. And the more people that we can kind of educate that way, we can hopefully continue to raise the standard in that as well, which goes back to the whole thing around why a lot of people that call themselves LinkedIn marketers and LinkedIn experts aren't. What they do is they just set people up on an automation tool and spam people. And that's what people think is how you're supposed to do it. And LinkedIn is shutting down accounts left, right, and center using automation tools. So, because that's not what they want their platform to be built on. They don't want people to spam. It's LinkedIn. You're wanting to link. There's got to be a personal element. There's just a different approach on how you have to do that. And so people just need to be properly educated around it.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying, but you're not quite saying, is kind of what I think about the state of digital marketing, is that lots of people will call themselves digital marketers because they know where all the buttons are, but they didn't actually know anything about marketing on the way in, so they don't,
Yeah.
they haven't got that foundation. So very much my course, my LinkedIn course is, this is how, all of my courses are, this is how you apply marketing print, this is what the marketing principles are, and this is how you apply them to this new platform opportunity. It's a shame because you say they've tried everything. They haven't tried the one thing, add value in the world, evidence it, tell people about it. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. This is what I mean about them looking in completely the wrong direction, because they will try everything and they'll try every tip and every trick. And guess what? It's not about doing the tips and tricks. It's about understanding what your customers need, giving it to them, and then sharing that success with the world. That's what it's about. So
Yeah.
have we got to question number 2 already? I am perfectly happy that you are qualified to talk to us about LinkedIn marketing, if that pleases you.
Okay,
Does that
good.
please you?
Yes, that works for me.
Cool. So who are your customers? How do you actually add value in their lives? Like, what is it that you are doing for people, and then what kind of transformation does that look like?
Yeah. So I work with a lot of like coaches, consultants, advisors. I also work with service providers like accountants, solicitors, financial advisors. So that kind of group of people is kind of my main thing. But I've worked with manufacturers, sales teams, all that sort of stuff. But primarily it's a lot of coaches, consultants. I think because that's my background, I started off as a life coach. So I kind of have a, soft spot for coaches. I think there's a lot of amazing coaches out in the world that can really help, but they're horrible marketers. They're really bad at it. And so I just think actually if I can help people be able to market themselves and actually live off what they enjoy, but also what they're good at helping people, then hey, that's great for me. I enjoy doing that. But those are usually who I work with. How I help them is I do more of kind of like a done with you type of stuff. I do have a digital training program people can do on their own, but most of what I do is kind of coaching and mentoring. I don't do any done for you services. Um, I just don't do them, but I do a lot of mentoring and consulting with companies. And as we were talking earlier, just like with Tony's profile, I'll review things. I'll go through and consult with them each step of the way. So there's a methodology I've created called the leads method, and we go through each one of those 5 steps, and we just look at everything from your profile to your positioning. And it's similar to what you just said earlier. It's not just pushing the buttons, right? Because like anyone can tell you send a connection request, and then when they connect, message them. That's not hard, but that's spammy, right? There's a big difference on how do you position yourself so you're not a commodity in the market. How do you reach out to people and create those relationships so it's not just spammy connection requests? How do you reach out and communicate with people so you're not sending spammy sales messages? How do you do all of this stuff so that when people actually do interact with you, even if they're not in the market, they're like, thank you. And when we get this all the time, people go, no, it's not for me, but thank you so much. I really enjoyed you reaching out to me. So when you can do this right, it changes how people see you, because even though they may not be in the market now, they may be in 3 months or 12 months or 2 years from now. And so if they view you as, oh, it's just another person that sent me a long sales message after they connected with me, they're not going to reach out to you when they are ready. And that's kind of another reason of the purpose of the content, is for you to just kind of stay fresh in people's minds. There's other things you can do as well. But when they are ready, they've had a good experience with you and they know that you're not a spammy person. So that's a lot of what we do. It's not just what buttons to push on LinkedIn, it's how you actually market yourself. So it's taken all the last 16 years of experience that I've had in helping people. So
Yeah, it's it's incredible that people don't know how to market themselves. It's incredible what they will try before they actually learn to market themselves effectively, I think. So you are talking about like an outreach. You've used that word a few times. So this is about inviting people to connect and sending follow-up messages, like all of the stuff that the bots will do. How does what you're doing differ from what people might be able to achieve with the bots? I know the answer already, but I think you should tell us.
okay. So, well, I just first thing is, let's look at what bots do. So, even though automation tools say they personalize stuff, they don't. Just because you can put someone's name in it doesn't mean you personalize it, right? So, what ends up happening is you just end up sending the same long sales message to people. So, automation tools, they send out connection requests, which again, they're not really, there's nothing unique about it. And then you basically set up, okay, once someone's connected with me, how many either hours or days after they've connected do I send a direct message to people? That's what bots do. What we do is we look at it because you do want to have communication, right? You do want to reach out, you do want to communicate with people, but you want to do it in a non-spammy way. So you want to actually start engaging with people before you even send out a connection request to them. All right. Because if I send out a connection request to you, Martin, and and I'm just someone completely out of the blue, even if I do put a connection message, which by the way, please do put a connection message in your connection invites. Even if I said, hey Martin, I came across your profile and I saw this about you, whatever, you don't know me at all. There's nothing unique about me, and you might go, oh, it's just another salesperson. And you're in the marketing field, so you're probably a little bit more analytical around this stuff than most. But if I'm engaging with what you're doing, then all of a sudden you go, okay, who is this guy? You're intrigued with what I'm doing, right? There's an interest there. It's just like if you go into a networking event, like an in-person networking event, and I just walk up to you and go, hey, Martin, um, let's have a meeting next week. When's good for you? You'd be like, well, hold on a second. Who are you? Like, well, I don't even know who you are. What's going on? Like, what's your name? What do you do? Like, it's so abrupt. And that's what people are doing on LinkedIn. Where if I came up to you and I started actually being a normal human being, right? And I'm like, hey, Martin, what's going on? What do you do? Like, how, is this your first time to the networking event? And we actually have a conversation. You're more open to actually have a business conversation with me. Now, this isn't to go on and have these long. You probably get these as well. When people send messages like, "How's business?" Like, it's fine. Like, you're not going to disclose how business is to someone you don't even know, right? And they're like, cool. And how's your year been? In those really awkward conversations you have on LinkedIn, I'm not talking about anything like that. But you've got to engage with people, right? And so it's about that uniqueness of what you're doing. And there's other ways that you can communicate on LinkedIn than just written messages, right? That completely stand out, that completely blow people away and make you different from everybody else. So that's what I'm talking about. It's automation tools can't do that. They can't really make it where people feel like you are actually wanting to help them. You're just another person that sent another long message selling them something or trying to get them onto a phone call. And one of the other things I always tell people is whenever you send a message like that, people do not read it in the tone of voice in which you wrote it. So you may write it as in, "Hey Martin, it's Jason here. Great to connect with you. And I see that you're doing this, and this is what we're doing in our business." Right? You may write it in that tone of voice, really friendly in nature, but the tone of voice you read it in is, "Hey Martin, it's Jason here. Here's another long sales message to try to sell you my stuff." Right? That's the way you read it. So we have to be able to look at different ways to be able to communicate with people so we break out of that so they can actually hear our tone of voice, and it makes it different and unique, and know that it's just not another cookie cutter message we're trying to spam out to people. So that's my big thing around all that.
Okay, can I relay a conversation that I've had in the last week with somebody who's marketing a bot on LinkedIn?
Go for it. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, so it says, "Hi Martin, hey Martin, I saw your profile and thought you could be a great fit for a potential partnership. We created a tool that gets around the weekly request limit ×5 on LinkedIn, and I would love to discuss with you how we could both benefit from partnering. It would be great to connect." And then I responded, 3, because actually I've had exactly this message from 3 people in their organization already. To which she responded, "Glad to connect, Martin." She didn't, her bot responded. "I didn't see a reply to my previous message, so I wanted to explain better. Remember, I replied 3. We are the only SaaS-based blah, 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 blah." It's quite long. So I responded, "Is this a joke?" To which she responded, "No, it's not." To which I responded, "So how is it so bad? It makes your tool look awful. I'm sure that's not what you're trying to do." To which she responded, I'm sure you are not sure what you are trying to do." Smiley face. And I said, "I'm feeding back to you that you haven't got this right. It looks like the worst example of bot marketing." And she said, "And it still works. 2,000 plus connection requests per month. We play with the numbers." And I said, "Ouch, I prefer that 2,000 people a month didn't think I was using a bot to spam them. Each to their own." Smiley face. And she said, "Maybe they will know if they are in the same room waiting for a connection request from you." I don't really know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Gosh, there's just loads of stuff I can say around that.
they're marketing the tool and they are using it in the worst way. It's like if I was selling Ferraris and I pulled up at 70 miles an hour and drove into the curb, and like if I like the worst demonstration of the tool. I don't know if that's the best analogy, but if I was selling anything, if I was selling a bread oven and I fed you burnt bread, do you know what I mean? It's like it's the worst. You see, I think these tools, I think 2 things. I think they serve a purpose. I think it is not impossible to write a connection request that is horribly spammy. Like, I think it's possible to do that. And I think what's the limit now? Is it 100 a day or 100 a week that you're allowed to send? Yeah. So maybe if it automates that process so it just happens. I mean, if it's 15 a day and you write a really nice message and you cut and paste it 15 times a day, then maybe that's okay. That's the first part of the job. It has to happen, is the first part of the job. I also think it's not impossible to write that follow-up message, but my experience is that about 50% of people will accept. Goes up if you're an attractive female, but it's around 40-50% of people will connect. So now what you've got to do is come up with 7 or 8 messages per day. So maybe and you've got to get there to actually do it. So maybe it's not impossible to write a message that's personal enough, but also generic enough that it accounts for most people. I think the things that bots do that are good, don't hate me, is it actually happens. It's one thing. It actually happens, so that's the thing that it does is good. Um, I think at the levels now, when it was 200 a day, it made sense to use a bot. You know, if you were sending out 100 follow-up messages. Okay, so here's the other issue then. The other issue is that everyone's doing it. So you kind of have to do it also because there is so much noise. How do you cut through the noise if you don't match them for volume? You know, so that's what I'm thinking. But this is the worst instance of how to use a bot. You know,
Yeah. So yeah. So here's my thing. All right. LinkedIn's actively looking to shut down accounts using automation tools.
yes,
It's a dangerous ground for people. I was just speaking with someone yesterday, and they have 12,000 first degree connections, and they weren't even using an automation tool, but they were doing some activity on it, and LinkedIn shut their account down. And this particular person is a solicitor, and the only reason they got their account back up is because they were able to really dig into the T's and C's and all that kind of stuff, which the average person can't do that, right? So LinkedIn's proactively looking for anything that's looking automated. So I'm just really cautious around that sort of stuff. I do think there's a place for automation stuff, but you just have to be very careful. I wouldn't usually recommend it for LinkedIn. The other thing around it is this whole thing. People go, oh, we found a way around the 100 connection limit per week. They're still doing it in a spammy way, right?
well,
And
there is no way around it. You know, there
there's
is
no
because
there's
you're
only one
still
way.
you're still sending 2,000 connections. LinkedIn still have 100 a week limit, so they can see that you're doing 20 times as much. So if they discover
Which
it,
means
bang
they're
to
going
rights,
to.
your account's closed. Nobody has time
Yeah,
to spend.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah.
the only the only way around it, right? And cat out of the bag, right? The only way around it, which isn't really around it, is you can upload a database into LinkedIn
Email addresses, yeah.
of email addresses. That's how they're getting around it. Okay. Now here's the problem with that. One, it just sends a connection request. That's it. You can't put a connection request message into it or anything like that, right?
Right.
So you upload them, it just sends the connection request out. And what happened, a lot of people don't know this, is when someone, so you can either accept or you can ignore the connection request. If you ignore it, it pops up to the top of where all the connection requests come in, and there's a little button that says I don't know, a little thing that you can click on. It's called an IDK, so I don't know. When people click that I don't know thing, what it does is the more of those you have, it hurts your account, because what's happening is if your ratio of those gets too high, it's an indication to LinkedIn that you're sending out connections to people that you don't know, and they're going that one step further to say, I don't even know this person. Why did they send this connection request to me? So if they're sending out, let's say if they said 2,000 connections, if that's actually what they're doing per month, they're sending out anywhere probably between 4 and 10,000 connection requests, right? Depending on what the acceptance ratio is. So that means at a minimum, if the conversion rate is 50%, which is very high, most people, and from what I've
It's
seen,
2,000 connection requests is what they're saying. But
okay,
it's still
2,000
100
connection
a day.
requests.
It's still
It's
100 a
still
day.
100 days, so that's 600 more than what they're supposed to be sending out.
Yeah.
And you're so you're going to have a high degree of those saying I don't know, and then ignore, and then a high percentage of those having an IDK on that. It's just dangerous ground, and this is why I'm so passionate about it. I know it's kind of nerdy and stuff, but I love it. Right? It's like, guys, they're just spamming. That's all it is. They're not getting around anything. They're literally spamming out people. They're scraping an email list of people, sending out this stuff to people. You don't know why would they even connect with you? And the potential of them damaging your account to either get suspended or completely shut down is very, very high. So I just don't.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just the
I'm with
worst
you.
thing ever.
It's not the worst thing ever. There are worse things than LinkedIn
Well, there are
marketing.
worse things,
There
but
are
in
worse
LinkedIn, I
things.
just hate it. I hate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. What that feeds is another delusion, which is that people seem to think if only enough people knew about me, then I would have more business. Like and it does work. There's one really annoying instance where it really works. Um, I've got to be in my bonnet about this. Like where that superficial awareness really works. The example is Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you know Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He annoys the shit out of me, man. He really does. I'm going to start doing these reaction videos because he put up something recently that was 35 minutes was the headline of marketing strategy. Basically, it was 34 minutes of him bragging about how he's going to be the biggest company in the world and they're the best marketing company. And the other minute was spend $6,000 a month advertising on LinkedIn. So nothing, this guy doesn't know what strategy is. He is supposedly worth $160 million. And I think it's because of that awareness. Like everybody knows who Gary Vaynerchuk is. And so people, because they're idiots, now want to work with the most famous marketer. He's not the best. He's the noisiest is what he is. So in that instance, it works, but it isn't true for the rest of the world, where if only people just knew that you existed, then you would be successful. Actually, what you need to know, or actually what you need, is for exactly the right people that you can add value to, knowing the value that you can deliver. You know, that is all the awareness that's required. And I suppose if there are 15 of those per day that you can touch and just let them know, not the base awareness, I'm a mouthy New Yorker, but the actual, these are the kinds of people I work with. This is the kind of value that I deliver. Here is some evidence of that value. That is, other than in the instance of Gary Vaynerchuk, that is the mission. You know, that is where I think marketing becomes really successful. Do you think I
Yeah.
should be so vocal about my complete disgust and distaste for Gary Vaynerchuk?
That's up to you, man. I mean, a lot of people don't like him. I see what you're saying, man. I think there's a lot of good stuff from him. I think he does have some good nuggets of information out there. But you're right. I think he's very good at being prolific. Like he's just everywhere, right?
Yes.
And I mean, that's good. It's for what he's doing. If you don't have his budget, right? Like it's gonna be very hard for you to be there and do all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Like then
Okay.
you're just putting up crap content, which some
Okay.
people could argue that his is crap as well, and some of it is, in fairness. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there are, but this is why we're chatting for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half, whatever it ends up being. And we're coming to the end, and we've got 12. Well, we, yeah, we've. Oh yeah, we're in trouble for time. I'm not in trouble for time. I've got time. If you're still okay.
I've got a bit of time as well. Yeah.
Okay, super cool. Thank you so much. It's not about nuggets. It's about do the work. Do you know what I mean? It's like this is how money comes into your business. This is how you pay your employees. This is how you pay your mortgage. This is how you feed your kids. I'm not aware of anything else in the world, like any subject area, where the information, where to get better at it, you have to be fortunate enough to discover nuggets. Do you know what I mean? This is insane to me. It's like if you don't go to the right networking or the right presentation or then you wouldn't get that nugget and then you wouldn't be successful. The nugget is understand marketing, do the work. You know, understand marketing, get someone else to help you, get them to do the work. You know, that's the work. But I want to say about advertising on LinkedIn. Is this something you do with people?
I don't do it. No. I don't. That's a short answer. I can give more feedback or background to that, but no, I don't.
No, I don't think it's effective. I really don't. My last experience of advertising on LinkedIn, because I produced a course, so it's like I'll just sell it, I'll just buy sales through LinkedIn, is they charged me £17 per click they claimed that something like 18 people had clicked. Two of those turned up on my website and they were both gone within part of a second. So it seems to me that if LinkedIn has an issue, it seems to be that it doesn't understand what its value is. Like, it charges for the stuff that nobody really needs, and it gives away the really good stuff for free. I think that's another really good reason for motivating people to use marketing as a LinkedIn tool, because essentially you don't have to pay for anything. You know, the good stuff really is, I think, available for free, and the advertising is absolute junk. If I was spending $6,000 a month on LinkedIn advertising, that's two people. I'm sure I would get much more value out of two people than I would $6,000 of. Okay, let's not go on too much about Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm going to respond.
I agree with you. The LinkedIn advertising side, I don't really recommend it to many people. I think it can work good if you have very, very high ticket stuff like 50,000, 100,000, dollar, pound, euro, whatever things. But for most businesses, it's a very expensive marketing solution out there, and
Yeah.
I just don't usually recommend it. So
No. And what I think is that's a further step away than you reaching out, saying to somebody, I help people exactly like you with exactly this issue, and this is how it works. People definitely aren't there necessarily to be marketed to, but they're 100% definitely not there to be advertised to. You know, they're not. That's kind of the way I think about it. Okay, cool. I think what's your recommendation for people who want to get better at their LinkedIn marketing?
Well, a little bit self-serving, but definitely you can go to impactforleads.com. Right,
This is
I've
such
got
a
a free
shit
mini
question for
course.
exactly this reason. Of course they should call you. Of course they should.
Of course they should. Yeah. So I mean, I have a free mini course that people can go through. Just yeah, it's a mini course, so they can go through that. But the thing about it is anything that is marketing related, I think, is really good. Um, understanding marketing is the key thing, because as we've kind of said several times, pushing a button is easy to do, but that doesn't mean you're marketing. You've got to understand how to position yourself, frame yourself, how to frame what you do, how to position your offer in a way where people will look at it and go, oh my God, I really need that. And there's a lot of that people really need to better understand than just show me what to do on LinkedIn. Because if your positioning is crap, if you don't know who your avatar is, if you're trying to reach everybody, like, you can push all the buttons on LinkedIn and not get any results because what you're doing in your marketing is crap. So there's a lot more than just pushing. I mean, it's the same thing with Facebook ads or Instagram. You have to hone those things first and test the market, validate it, get all those things done, and then that's where the tools, the platforms can really you can leverage those platforms to help you go to that next level in your marketing. But if all that other stuff isn't in place, you can connect with 1 million people a day, and yeah, a couple will buy just because of the law of numbers, but you're just literally throwing the mud up against the wall to see what sticks. So as you said, like, if you're really honed in, know what you're doing, 15 people a day can change your business if you're doing it right.
Yeah. And the insane thing is, you can do that in 15 minutes a day. You like send that initial invitation. That is like 15 minutes a day. And I relate this to when I started work in the 90s, and I was cold calling, and it would take me 8 hours to do 120 dials to get through to 30 people, to have half of them tell me where to go. The other half begrudgingly accept like some information that I was going to put in the post. Do you know what I mean? So it's a no-brainer. Like, people should be marketing on LinkedIn. But I think you're 100% right. It will be so much better if you are dialed in. You know exactly what value you deliver, exactly who you deliver it to, and exactly the offer that is going to get them to engage with you right now. Then hey ho, your marketing is going to be an absolute delight. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. Thank you so much.
Cool, man. I've loved it too. I enjoy talking about this stuff. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me on, Martin.
No, it's only a pleasure. And there's still two questions, so
Yeah,
we will
sure.
get to those. What should people read? What is your recommendation for what people should read? Has Gary Vaynerchuk written a book?
He's written a couple books. Yeah, he has done. I can mention one of them. um, but the theory behind one of his is actually quite good. But the I tell you what I'm reading right now, which I highly recommend. It's called $100 million offers. And
$100 million
offers.
offers.
Yeah, and it's from a guy who's built like multiple eight-figure businesses. Like it's not, this isn't a marketer that started last month and trying to put something together, you know, like it's a legit guy. And it is great. It is all about how to create an offer that people feel stupid saying no to. And it's really good. And it's not just around online marketing stuff. It's like real world, like not that online marketing isn't real world, but you know, brick and mortar type businesses as well. It's how do you position what you're offering to people where it's so good that they just can't say no to, like for chiropractors or gyms, and you know, it can be online business as well. But it's a great book, and I'd highly recommend it because it goes in line with what we're talking about now. Around, you've got to get your marketing right and what you're offering to people, because if you don't, you can get as many leads in as you want, but if that's not right, you're literally swimming upstream. It's hard doing that.
Yes.
So
Who is the author of that?
do you know, it's Alex something or other. I need to find, I'm actually listening to it on Audible.
Okay. That's cool. I
It's
will
Alex
find
something
that,
or other.
and I'll put
Yeah,
a link here to that. Anything else?
yeah. Not off the top of my head, man. There's some other non-marketing stuff that's really good. Five Dysfunctions of a Team. That's a great book as well if you're dealing with any team members or anything. Really helps you understand um, the the personality types within a business and which one should be in there, which one shouldn't. It's a great book, really good book. Even if you're a small business, it's a really good book to read.
Super cool. Excellent. Okay, and then the last order of business is, who are you going to throw under the bus? And yeah, who are you going to throw under the bus? What do you have for us?
So a great friend of mine, his name's Jake Davey. He's an Instagram expert and coach, and I would definitely throw him under the bus. He's a great guy, does a lot of good work around that, and he's just one of the good guys in the online marketing space. So I would definitely throw him under the bus.
Excellent. Is there anyone else?
There could be another guy named Sam Druce. He's a good guy. He is all about, he does a lot of Facebook advertising, but also does a lot of property stuff. Really good. And another guy named Sajan. He's based in South Africa, and I can't for the life of me say his last name, so I don't say it at all because I don't want
How do you spell
to
it?
look
I lived
stupid.
in South Africa, so I can teach you how to say it right now.
It's T H. I think it's Thethian, something like that. The Thean, I think is how you say it.
I'm sorry to
Sergeant
take
the
that back. I've
Thean.
got no idea. I've never come across that before in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm
But
good with the
he'd
Vasakis
be
and the
good as well.
Fantavestasons and those things, but I've never seen that one before.
Well,
Maybe it is the
he's
Thean.
it's a Indian name, I think, so it's not even a South African name.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So, but yeah,
Excellent.
those guys are good.
Okay, and would you be able to do, like, did Tony do like a LinkedIn connection invitation sort of a thing? Would you be able to engineer
Yeah, yeah.
something like
I
that
can
for us?
connect you with. Yeah, I can connect you with
Okay,
them. Yeah, yeah.
super
Not a
cool.
problem.
That's the way it works best, 100%. Man, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's interesting because when I started this, I had it in my head, and I don't know if it is still true, is that people don't understand marketing. They don't want to invest in marketing. But even those that do, when they go out into the market, they end up kind of getting a disservice. You know, like there aren't good marketing suppliers out there. But now I'm doing this, I can't find them. Everyone I'm talking to are wonderful people doing amazing work for their clients. So maybe that's the benefit of what I'm doing, is I'm finding the good suppliers for people. I don't know.
Well, there's a need in that for sure, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
cool. So we'll do the pretend goodbye now for anyone who might actually watch this, and then I'll press the stop record button and we'll say goodbye like normal human beings.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much for your time, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate it, Martin. It's been great. I love anytime you want me back on and chat about this stuff. I'm always happy. I get a big thrill out of it, man.